Okay, okay. Yo, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the Norman Rad podcast, where we just dive into crazy topics. So, it has just come to surface that Jeffrey Epstein's autopsy comes back as homicide. There are more evidence during his autopsy that points to he could have been possibly killed. Now, again, we all came to the same conclusion. A lot of people thought that possibly he was killed by his cellmate, which we'll check out this guy. Like, who wants to be in a cell with I mean, nah, bro. And this guy was in jail because he had killed someone and he was a cop. So, yeah. But things are coming out that Jeffrey Epstein did share a cell with him, but was removed and went to another place with a cellmate. And then he was removed, and Jeffrey Epstein had his own cell. Now, also, there's talks that um, there's too many uh, variables to his situation. Occam's razors tells us that if there's more than one occurrence, there's more than one story to one story. The story with the least amount of assumptions is the right story. So, I mean, the guards were away. They were in sleep. They were doing something. I mean, come on. It's just too many fallacies and holes in the initial story, and there's a lot of covering up. And I think they're really covering up due to the fact that you know there's there's there are other people and other powers involved that could have been involved in the Epstein case that don't want things to come out and want things to be heard. So it's perfectly normal for this to be happening in this type of situation. Like, hey, look, let's get this guy pinched so he won't talk. If he talks, it's over with. Let's get rid of him. And we never really even people who was not in the know, we never heard anything about this guy. Also Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was pretty cool with him. He took 26 flights with him. Now, now what they don't say about the flights, even though Epstein and Bill Clinton took 26 flights, a flight to a certain place, and let's say you need 5 stops in between that flight to like gas up or whatever. Those are counted as flights as well. So it's not like he took 26 flights to this island and back. He could have had made 3 pit stops. Those counts as a flight as well. And the media kind of smears these type of things, and try to get clicks and things of that nature, because most people doesn't do um, their due diligence. And here's the flight logs here. They don't do their due diligence. They don't really study. Everything is so much face value. Sometimes you have to really study and understand, these flights that are consecutive. And, Bill Clinton's 4 Secret Service, 2 males, 1 female. Yeah, that's crazy. So again, me and a buddy of mine was having a conversation about, like the pyramids, and he was saying stuff like how, he thinks it's possibly aliens created the pyramids. And again, I go to Occam's razor. That's the first thing I do, and I think to myself, okay, aliens coming from outer space. What we know about space right now, you know, the longer you're in space, the more your eyes start to deteriorate, because there's no gravity, there's nothing keeping you down. So we as biological creatures, we go through these things. And if you know anything about the twins that went to space and the effects uh the effects that it had on both twins. Scott Kelly, that's his name, the one that went to space. And his vision is a little bit blurry. He's a little bit younger than his brother because if you know, um, the more that you're away from the center of gravity, the times change. Things are slower. Things are, so if the higher you're up, if you're in the Sears Tower in Chicago or the Empire State Building in New York, if you're spending a lot of your time at the top, then you're away from the center mass of gravity. So time for you is slower than a person whose time is on a lower floor. There is a difference in time. So, you know, hey, it's hard for me to believe that an alien came down and started, building the pyramids. It's just I don't know. I just can't believe that. It's too much technical space things you got to do and barriers you got to get through. And I don't think an alien would do all of that space travel and preparation and fighting off ultraviolet rays from stars to come down and build a pyramid. Just doesn't make sense. So my friend was also saying, like, how did they pull these things? I'm like, look, dude, back then there was a lot of leisure time and there was a lot of powerful people. And as you can see, all of these people, they're pulling this limestone, and they used to use wooden sleds. Even though you still have to do with friction, you have to deal with friction, sled and gravel to ground. They also made up like wheels. They also use wheels and pulley systems, and you know they used a lot of architects, and they had cities dedicated to people who would work on these projects. And you know my friend was also asking, like, how did they transport the limestones, and look, again, when you're that powerful and you have that much time, the person who initially started the constructions of the pyramid, he didn't live to see barely any of it. You feel me? Nefertiti and Cleopatra, they're closer to the date of the creation of the iPhone than the creation of the pyramids. When Nefertiti and Cleopatra and King Tut and them, when they were born, the pyramids of Giza and Cairo, and the Egyptian Sphinx was already created. And you know, also I would think if they were aliens, like they would have to be. To me, they would have to be silicon based. Um, if we know anything about silicon based, humans, a human, a rubber duck, or a physical duck, a diamond, or a watch, a coffee cup, what they all have in common is carbon. Our um, universe consists of carbon. Um, it's a very abundant element, and it's the building blocks of the universe, the galaxy. This is how we have become. Um, there are six. It's six on the periodic table because there are six atoms inside of it, and carbon makes a crystallized shape, and the crystallized shape helps it create form, as you can see right here. And the more carbon that's put together, it starts to make a structure called um, polymer. It starts to make long cell structures called polymer. And if you know anything about, like, polymer pistols like the Glock 26 and Glock, pistols, and newer model pistols are made of polymer. It's a real strong, so that's the same thing if you're using these atoms. And if you see any like carbon fiber, that's what a probably alien, life would look like if it was silicon. Now, silicon is very similar to carbon. It's also a building block, and it's also very abundant, and it has this. it's very similar chemically to carbon. Um, and it's a building block to probably certain lives in our own solar system. Like Saturn has different types of moons, and they believe that Saturn, uh, Titan, one of the moons of Saturn, Titan, silicone based, could possibly have silicone based life due to the fact that um, silicon thrives off not having any oxygen. There's not a lot of oxygen on Titan, the moon Titan. There's not a lot of oxygen, and it has 1% of the light that we get from the sun because it's so far away. So any liquid that's on Titan is completely frozen, and any silicon-based life has to be underground because it needs warmth. It needs like heat, and that's that's what you need to create silicone based life. It doesn't need oxygen, um, and it needs to ionize as well. Like it needs to ionize as well. So once you have like, I believe like if we can, but it's kind of difficult. I was just telling my friend like just the possibilities of life, um, just coming to Earth and creating things like you got to think more on a smaller scale. So, like silicon based life will be more probably microbes, more micro life, not so much full sentient thinking human beings. We don't even know if silicon based life would even have. Um, we don't even know if silicon based life would even have a DNA like we have. But it's possible because carbon has some of the same elements. And also, what silicon thrives off of is nitrogen and methane, gas. It silicon based life needs no water. It can use liquid methane to be its galactic elixir for life to arise. The lack of oxygen is pretty essential for life to exist for silicon based life. And the reason why I kind of went from like that pyramid thing to the silicon based life aliens, like for you to travel these distances, you would definitely have to be immune to some of the things that us carbon-based life humans are not resistant to, like um, X-rays. No, actually, ultraviolet rays from the sun. Those rays are, they harm us. They create mutations in the skin, which create cancer. And no one can like negate that. If you are made of carbon, you know, you will suffer from radiation. Um, but see, like when carbon unites or oxidizes, as it does during a fire, like a fire extinguisher is carbon dioxide, it's cold, so it can take out fire. Um, but see, silicone based when it oxidizes, it comes silicone dioxide. Let's see how that looks. And it's a solid. It's not a liquid. Um uh Dioxide. It's like more of a crystallized, as you can see, like it starts to take a shape of like kind of like crystals, and it's not a gas. And but see, if oxygen is to now again, if they did come here on Earth, they would need to wear a hazmat suit because the oxygen would turn the silicon based life into a rock. When um silicon is mixed in with oxygen, it starts to harden up, and it starts to form into a rock. So not having oxygen is pretty essential for silicon based life, And that's the only life I can think of, like really being able to travel, or maybe some human slash hybrid humanoid with both. I don't know. It's weird, but that's kind of what I wanted to touch on today, guys. So I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. If you want to join the podcast, if you want to come on and talk about certain things, let me know. Let me know, like in the let me know in the comments what you think about Epstein, what you think about the creation of the pyramids, who created them. Let me know what you think about life forms and different ways life forms come. So thank you for joining the podcast. I'm out.